Welcome to the Dacus Report, hosted by Pacific Justice Institute founder and president Brad Dacus. For 25 years, PJI has counseled, represented, and defended people whose religious freedoms, parental rights, or sanctity of life have been obstructed or violated, all free of charge. We leave no one behind and level the playing field for Americans as they are subjected to the tyranny of the powerful. Now, here's Brad Dacus.
Welcome to the Dacus Report. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Brad Dacus, president of the Pacific Justice Institute. On today's show, we're going to look at some of the recent serious challenges to churches, religious freedom. What would happen to you? What would you do if you were in church and a mob suddenly poured in, threatening, causing disruption? How would you handle that? That's one of the issues we're going to deal with on today's show, along with some other very important issues from a legal perspective. And to help me do that today, we're blessed to have with us Pastor Peter Mord. Welcome to the show, Pastor.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be with you.
Now, Peter, you are the pastor of a church located up there in Palmdale.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand you had 4 services last Sunday?
Yes. Yep.
And, you know, does anyone ever respond to the gospel there to receive Christ? Or
you know, in Matthew 9, Jesus said the fields are white unto harvest, and we are seeing that. And I think churches all across America are seeing people hungry for the truth, coming to the gospel, and just hundreds of people being saved. It's exciting.
Yeah. I was so encouraged when you shared that with me on this last Sunday. I got to guest preach at a church and recently, and it was a Calvary Chapel up in the Turlock, and before that was Calvary Chapel of San Clemente. And both times we had people raise their hand, respond to receive Christ.
It's awesome.
It's so encouraging. And when you talk about the fields being ripe for harvest, I know, we as believers, whether they're ripe or whether we've just got part of it to harvest, or whatever the case, we need to be obedient.
Yeah.
But what awesome joy there is when we're obedient at a time when there is such great potential for harvest.
Yes.
And the Gen Zs, I understand, those 18 to 24-year-olds, younger folks, seem to be more open to the gospel and coming to Christ and becoming serious in their faith, even attending church, reading their Bibles, than any generation living today, including baby boomers.
Yes, we had a young man named Jackson, 17 years old, in a public school, completely indoctrinated by this world. He came, he got saved, he got baptized, his whole family came, and just through tears of joy, they're seeing a young man turn his life to Jesus. And we've seen that over and over again. Gen Z is so passionate about the truth. I am passionate about the fact that if they're open to the truth, we're not growers, we're sowers. So we're just going to sow that seed, and God is multiplying the increase.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. So people can look at something happening over here or over there and get discouraged. But the big picture is, to me, this is the most exciting evangelical opportunity in my lifetime. Where we are right now, this last year, we saw revival.
Yes.
Something we've all been praying for in 2 Chronicles, if my people.
Yeah.
But now we are seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the big exhortation, for people in the body of Christ is, so are you going to sit in the stands and observe?
Right.
Are you going to be obedient and live your faith, share your faith, maybe invite people to church or develop relationships?
Yeah.
This is the time.
This is the time. And I think the window will be open, but it's a window of grace. I don't know how long this generation is going to be seeking Jesus, but it's obviously the Holy Spirit drawing them.
Yes.
And I think if churches are wise, they will go out, and this is harvest time. I grew up in Iowa. When the harvest is ripe, you got to get out there and get after it. And that's what many churches are doing, and it's exciting to see.
I talked to a pastor, a friend of mine out of Las Vegas. It's a Baptist church out of Las Vegas. And in fact, the pastor.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him and just connecting with him. And he told me, he says, I said, how things go? He goes, well, it's great. This last week we had about 200 of our members get together. I think he was going to say have a ice cream social. Or, and those are fine.
Yeah.
Because 200 came together so we could do outreach and evangelism.
Yeah.
I go, you had about 200 get together for the purpose of going door to door? He goes, yeah. He goes, I said, that is awesome.
Yeah.
And that's what I like to hear, to realize the day and the hour we are in. And now's the time for us to get serious on our own faith, on our own walk with the Lord. That's first.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we're engaged in comfort Christianity,
Right.
ritualistic Christianity.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes we don't move forward in our faith because we don't think it's going to have the impact. We have a doubt about the impact that we could have. A case study was done about that church in Las Vegas because there was a certain spot of Las Vegas that was so riddled with crime that the police didn't even patrol those streets.
that's bad.
This was a few years ago. That church went into that area and started helping the fatherless, helping those who needed the help they needed to get out of the situation they were in. They started to report crimes. They started to, with their own money, put up cameras and do everything they could to try to fight back against the crime. That was their neighborhood. And now that neighborhood is one of the safest in Las Vegas. And so we're really seeing how churches make a difference. And honestly, churches in every community can make a difference. You just can't sit on your hands.
Right. And need to be involved and engaging. And we don't have to just give up.
Right.
And it's so exciting that church did not give up. Maybe law enforcement did, but they didn't. And that's great. That's so encouraging. Well, churches have a lot of challenges today. And we've seen violence in churches before.
Right.
But that's usually the result of one crazy person, a woman who has a bunch of testosterone injections and she's suddenly just, anger. That was a case in Tennessee. We see these different situations, but I'm not used to seeing something that's involving an orchestrated mob for the purpose of invading a church during worship service. I think this is something relatively new for our country, and it's very disturbing.
Yeah.
What happened?
So yesterday, there was a pastor who just decided he was going to, host a regular Sunday morning service. And there was a group, unbeknownst to these worshipers, who were just, practicing their First Amendment right to hold services and worship the Lord. There was this group outside of City's Church. It's a Baptist church in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota. And this group, they call themselves the Radical Justice Network. And Don Lemon and several others, agitators, went into the church during worship for the purpose of disrupting the service.
So you said Don Lemon, is that right?
Yes.
So he's the gentleman who was on CNN. He was the anchor person on CNN. He has a reputation of not being very favorable towards Christian worldview or Christian lifestyle.
Yeah. To quote him, during Charlie Kirk's memorial, he said he had to turn it off because the pro-Christian narrative was making him physically sick. He is someone who's been very open about his hatred toward Christianity and his dislike toward Christian values.
Wow. And so here he's not just in the back, he's like the mob leader, if you will, if I understand, for this mob that came in, invaded into a church during worship service on Sunday morning.
Yes.
This could be any church anywhere.
Right.
This should be a huge wake-up call. Now, I believe that we're going to see the Department of Justice look at the videotape. I'm sure there was lots of people with their cell phones out saying, we're getting this on tape. We're videotaping these people. I saw some of the clips myself. Some people didn't have anything covering their face, which I think is good. These cowards, that create violence, not to protect against crime, but actually to do crime. I don't respect that. So, but it's good they didn't have anything over their face, so they were able to be seen. I think there's a good chance that we're going to see the Department of Justice move in and bring criminal charges against them based on the FACE Act. Now, this is 18 U.S.C. Code Section 248. I'm sure all of you are writing that down right now to look it up on your. No, you'd have to do that. But in a nutshell, what it says, Peter, and is that people cannot create a disruption. They can't create intimidation. They can't disrupt the carrying on of events either for reproductive services, or that's the abortion clinics, or for religious services for churches.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a paraphrase. It's very broad. And the penalties are very severe. You're looking up to 11 years behind bars.
Wow.
So we know with the Biden administration, he only used it to attack pro-life counselors who are peacefully, sitting there on the steps of an abortion clinic, not preventing people from coming or going. So that's what he did.
Right.
And we have a case like that in Michigan. And we defended the pastor who was being criminally prosecuted peacefully.
Mm-hmm.
And we prevailed. And in fact, at the end of the day, actually, President Trump, through the Department of Justice, had the charges dropped. And then he gave a pardon to others who were convicted. So that was the priority of the Biden administration in using a face, was to go after Christian counselors and ministers who were lovingly, peacefully offering counseling and on the premises of abortion clinics.
Right.
This is a little different, though. Here we have very opposite.
Right.
We're talking about a mob, not a few peaceful, prayerful individuals, but a mob invading, not just on church grounds, but invading the church and outright disrupting the church. And what they said were not sweet little things of, well, we'd really appreciate it if you guys might reconsider your Christian biblical worldview. That's not what they said. It was very threatening, wasn't it?
Extremely threatening, extremely disruptive, obnoxious. They did not allow the service to continue at first. They were yelling things like, there's a member of this church, maybe even the staff that is also on the payroll of ICE. They had no proof for that. But that's what brought them in, is they felt like the church was harboring, in their words, harboring an ICE agent. If a federal agent chooses to worship at his own place of worship and with his own sincerely held beliefs, that is no concern to them. I think it's really dangerous and sets a very dangerous precedent for a nationally recognized figure like this one to come up to the very front and confront the pastor. He's throwing a microphone and a camera in his face. And the pastor was actually very poised, was very kind, but he said, we're not here for that. I'm asking you to leave. And over again, I'm asking you to leave. I'm asking you to leave. At the point that he gave them that second ask, they were trespassing. And so not only are they trespassing, but they're breaking the FACE Act. There's multiple different things that you could see from those videos where people are, threatening, getting in the faces, pushing congregants. It was extremely, it's extremely dangerous for us just to sit back and say, oh, they were just, that was a peaceful protest. That crosses so many lines, both legally and ethically, and I think it just needs to be called out.
At PJI, we exist to serve everyone in need of counsel, representation, and defense of their religious liberties, parental rights, and the sanctity of life. We don't take cases based on how high-profile they are. We are workhorses, not show horses. Keep current on PJI's work on all the legal challenges we face on a daily basis by signing up for our Legal Insider email newsletter at pji.org. Now, back to the Dacus Report.
The irony is, all of these groups do not ideologically agree with each other, but they are all united in the same mob against Christianity and people with a Christian, pro-life, pro-biblical, pro-justice worldview.
Yeah. Well, there's one little theological thing in Islam called taqiyya, and it says that you can lie to an infidel, someone who doesn't believe in Islam, in order to do something that would further the Islam faith. And so I believe that Muslims like Mamdani they're practicing takia. I think they're lying at all costs, saying, "Oh yeah, no, I believe in LGBTQ, and I like this, I like that," and they don't. Obviously, people who are truly Muslim do not line up with anything that's LGBTQ, but they'll say they do under that rule of takia to say, I can lie and it's justified, it's moral. And it's just, it's crazy. And you're right. They all have the same enemy. So that's what unites them.
Yeah. It's really interesting. But I think it also shows the spirituality of it because of the fact you do not have logic and reason in play here when you see these different groups uniting together when they're actually ideologically totally opposed. It doesn't make sense, but from a spiritual perspective, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
That they are darkness and they want to snuff out the light of a Christian biblical worldview.
Yes. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
That's an interesting reality that we're facing, and yet the light is shining, and we need to be encouraged all the more to share our faith and live our faith. We're seeing it not only in terms of the law and the greatest protection of religious freedom ever, which is what we have right now in our country because of different Supreme Court precedents applying original intent of the Constitution just within the last half dozen years. It's been incredible. But also we see it in terms of socially and spiritually, Gen Z, who now have the highest church attendance per capita on average per month than any other age group.
Absolutely.
And I thought it was just the old people.
Yeah.
The national, maybe I am the old people, but, baby boomers and older.
Yeah.
Because they're getting close to dying.
Yeah.
And everyone knows you get close to dying, you want to be spiritual, you want to start thinking about God. Maybe they're, that's just sort of the way you assume. And the younger people think they're immortal. They're not going to take spirituality very seriously.
Yeah.
But it's actually the opposite for the first time in my lifetime, I think of over 100 years. Maybe in our nation's history, it's actually the opposite. The younger are more tuned in spiritually and seeking God and coming to Christ and attending church than the older people.
It's a 25-year high among 25-year-old young men. So within the last 25 years, we have not had 25-year-old men and younger going to church as much as they are right now. Yeah. That was according to Barna. So in 2025, I just think 25. In 2025, 25 years old and younger went to church more than they had in the last 25 years. That's remarkable.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I was talking to Salt and Light Group and part of a church, and this guy, I started talking to him. He's a young guy, and I asked him. I was just sort of curious. I said, "So you're here?" He's like, "Yeah, I've been here and came part of the church." I says, "So how long have you been a believer?" So he goes, "I said almost a year now."
Yeah.
And he goes,
very common.
"Just on fire."
Yeah.
And then I was going to get my car place, get my Maserati worked on.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a Mazda. Okay, Mazda. Anyway, and my Mazda CX-5 worked on, and I was talking to this young guy. There's two guys there. One guy, he's got a girlfriend. He's thinking about, she's thinking about her faith, and he's not sure. I was talking, and then I was talking this, and this young guy who was behind this, he started chiming in. He goes, "Oh yeah," he goes, "Jesus, what will set you free?" I said, "Really? So what's yours?" He goes, "Oh, I just became a Christian so many months ago, and God set me free from such and such addiction."
That's amazing.
And I tell you, it's just you're seeing the work of God, and I think the first question believers need to ask themselves right now is, where are they in their own personal relationship with the Lord?
Yes.
It's just like John chapter 15 is one of my favorite chapters of the Bible. It talks all about the vine.
Yes.
And if we bear fruit, it's because we're in the vine. We're a little twig that's attached to the vine, the source of life and truth. But if we're not communing with God, can we expect the love of Christ, the power of God, the direction of the Holy Spirit? Can we expect that in our life and to be seeing the fruit and people coming to Christ? No. And not if we're just focusing on ourselves and we have our little, quote, ticket to heaven.
Right.
And yet we're depriving ourselves of the greatest joy, and the greatest joy that we can experience is when we choose to be obedient and specifically respond to sharing the gospel and the truth that's within
That's
it.
so good. Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, so I just want to encourage people out there. Now is the time, not just to watch, not just observe.
Good.
If you're watching this show, folks, and you're not a part of a church, hey, you're a Christian. And you're just like, I'm gonna go to church. Go to a church and go to a church that preaches the Bible. If you have one displaying a rainbow flag, that's heresy. Read the 2 Timothy. It talks all about those kind of churches. You don't want to be a part of those kind of churches. But get with a group of 10 church, get with a group of believers, maybe join a Bible study. Start reading the Word. I mean, don't you? And then talk to God.
Yes.
Peter, how common is it for Christians to say, well, I'm really upset. Now's not a good time to talk to God.
Right.
Yeah,
That's the time to talk to him.
Because a lot of them think, especially if they're traditional, like maybe more Lutheran or something mainline, they sort of see God sort of distant, and you talk to God when you're going to praise Him and but you really don't commune with God with just like an open book. But that's what God wants, right? The Book of Psalms.
Almost every biblical character vented their frustrations, brought their doubts to God, brought their brokenness to God. And God, even Jesus, when he was walking, when the disciples would bring things, he never chastised them for bringing those things to him. He always welcomes. And so, as Hebrews put it, man, we have access to the throne of grace and we can find help in time of need. We must come boldly to that throne of grace.
Yeah. And that's, when we do that, we get into the vine. We get the power of God working in our life, and then we start experiencing life, joy and purpose.
Yes.
I see people, older people also, they're retiring, and it's okay to play. It's fine to play golf. I know guys who evangelize while playing golf, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not condemning all the golfers out there, okay? But if that's all we live for,
yes,
is just our own comfort,
yes,
that's miserable.
Yeah. Can I give a shout out to two books that I think would be transformational? One is Experiencing God by Henry Blackaby, if you're wanting to develop your walk with God. And then the other is The Pursuit of God by A.W. Tozer. Both of those books, for different reasons, are just extremely transformational on how to connect with God.
Yeah, I've read that, The Pursuit of
The Pursuit of God.
Pursuit of God by Tozer. That's actually, in fact, I cheated. I did audio. Okay.
That's okay. That's all right.
I'm just saying, I have better attention to this. I'm talking audio, especially when I'm driving. So
yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
But, hey, those are good ones. And the other one, Experiencing God, that's a classic as well.
Yeah. He just went to heaven. Yeah.
Did he?
Henry Blackaby just went to heaven.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
So those are some great ones. Now, I want to talk real quickly about impacting AI in the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
Musk is offering $1 million to a person who submits the best essay on X or Twitter.
It can't be AI generated. And if you write 1,000 words before the 30th of January, Elon Musk will give the best article out there that's created by a human $1 million. He's really trying to get us away from creating things with ChatGPT and some of the bots, and he wants people to get back to using their brains. I think that's important. And I think the next generation needs to use AI to edit, not create.
Yes.
God created us with the ability to reflect him. And one of the things we can do is we can produce order from disorder. We can create things with our own brains. And so he's trying to get people out of the zombie mentality, as he calls it. And I think that's a good way to do it. Give someone, one lucky X user, $1 million to be creative.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. Great for use it for editing, but for knowledge. In fact, I heard up to 30% of it is hallucinating. It's not like it's saying things
that can't trust it.
It's really not true.
Yeah.
And I've used it before only to find it disagreeing, telling me opposite things. Yeah. And then I pointed out, I said, you're disagreeing with yourself.
Yep.
And it says, this does appear to be a problem.
Yep.
And so finally, churches, they see what's happened. They see that church invaded. Where can they go to get information on how to protect themselves from mobs, or protect themselves from maybe dangerous individuals, protect themselves or how to deal with, say, someone who is a pedophile, or maybe a transgender coming in a church?
Of course.
How do you know if they're seeking the Lord versus creating a disruption, and what's the approach you should take in these situations, where can people get solid, concrete information to help their church?
Go to pgi.org, search not just church, but like church security resources. We've used them. It's excellent. So many resources there.
Yeah, and it's all without charge.
Yes.
All without charge, folks. Go to pji.org. Peter, thank you so much for being on the show. Keep up the great work.
We would love the opportunity to continue to serve you. Just visit pji.org and click the Legal Insider button to sign up for our email newsletter. At PJI, we help individual employees, employers, business owners, pastors, students, citizens of every stripe through our practical resources, counsel, representation, and defense, all free of charge at pji.org. PJI is an island of stability and assurance in our ever-churning sea of legal and societal chaos. We are here for you.
So, folks, just remember, it's our God-given freedoms we're talking about. Now, let's choose to keep them. I'm Brad Dacus, president of the Pacific Justice Institute. Let's continue the fight for your freedoms.